Hi, we are back at the podcast with me, KY, and Sheryl on the theme of education. In the last session, we talked about Sheryl's experience at Richard Branson's Island, where he talked about his education philosophies. And today, I would like to ask Sheryl that we know that Richard Branson is a very successful serial entrepreneur, but I'm sure he had some roadblocks, some failures, or where things don't go so well. And I'm really interested, how does he pick himself up and then, to have the courage to go on again? Do you have any thoughts to share around that, Sheryl?
Oh, yes. Branson, he is a very, very optimistic person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very amazing because he really sees the best among people. And he even cited this example when they had a lawsuit with British Airways. He actually, and after he won the lawsuit, he actually invited his enemy, the CEO, I think, CEO of the British Airways, and just have lunch with them, basically making friends with your enemy. And they went on to become good friends, and they went on to fight common causes. They found out that actually they had more things in common than just this whole, Virgin Airways and British Airways debacle. They realized that they have other things in common, and they went on to fight the whole Brexit thing together. So there are things that no matter what, we as humans, we all have these universal needs and values that will hold through to all of us. And that's his life. He's just really optimistic about things in general, and he thinks that failure is just, he has this quote which I'm going to read to you. Failure enables you to learn, grow, perfect your methods. In fact, failure is one of the secrets to success, because since some of the best ideas arise from the ashes of a shattered business, he has ran like 300 to 400 businesses, and there are some businesses that work out and some businesses that don't, and the ones that don't, he just move on. He says there's no point, crying over
Private milk.
yeah, exactly. And he's thinking the same thing as me. Yeah, so he just moves on. He just moves on to the next thing, and he just learns from his mistakes in that sense. That's how that's his take on failure. What about yourself? What is your personal take on failure?
Recently, this quote, I've been seeing it everywhere, and I think it applies to what I'm doing currently as well. I think it came from Winston Churchill, where he says that success is not final and failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. I think the wisdom comes in that success is not final, is that you don't get too, how do you say, too proud and too carried away by your success, because pride comes before a fall. So that's a good reminder there. And then the second one, where failure is not fatal, where just because you failed something doesn't mean that you're a failure. The important thing is to learn and then to improve on your next iteration. And I also add on that it's okay to fall, but fall forward. Fall forward, pick yourself up, and then have the courage to continue. And then if you are aiming to be a perfectionist, you are afraid to fail. You actually don't even have the courage to even start off. And that is one of the saddest scenarios I think possible, because you are so consumed by the idea that whatever I do must be perfect. In the end, you do not do anything at all. Like a personal example, I wanted the book that I write to be perfect, and then it has been the graph is on my bookshelf since 2015 until now, and it's still not written yet, but I'll return to it. I promise that. Yep. What about you?
Yeah, I know that's the biggest stumbling block to get started. To make the first step is always the hardest. Now, my question to you is how, we're talking about education. How are we
Yes.
going to, relate it back? How our kids going to be able to take on failure? What is your strategy?
How I see it is that sometimes as parents, we do want the best for our children, and then sometimes we want that whatever activity they are involved in, we want there to be a product. We want there to be we want them to have an end result, and usually we want it to be a good result. The drawing has to be certain ways. The Lego or the magnet tile block has to look a certain way, and then so that sometimes the parents or so that I can show off to other people that, oh, my kid built such a great thing. But it's more like letting them have the experience of trial and error, and then you learn that, This piece, when you do it with this piece, it will compromise the integrity of the structure, and then they learn from it, and then next time at their next iteration build, it'll be better, and then it can stand better forces or things like that. If we intervene too fast and then we tell them this is actually the best way, we actually rob them of an opportunity to learn. Yeah. What's your take?
This reminds me of the entrepreneurship fair that I did last year. And we had 30 over booths, about 60 over kids who came in to join the entrepreneurship fair. And this was one of the kids' dad's takeaway is that they come in with the mindset that, oh, it has to be perfect, it has to be this, it has to look like this, packaging needs to be like that. But at the end of the day, when you go and see the fair, these are kids, like kiddie stuff, like things that are hand-drawn, things that are, imperfect, but, the whole environment is just really supportive of their, of their endeavor to go up and stand in front of a stranger to be able to sell something, even though it's, small and, imperfect in that sense. So yeah, they see that actually you don't have to have a perfect product to be able to sell. You just need to have the confidence to go out there and sell to somebody new. And another child said that they noticed that people were carrying trays, putting all their little trinkets on a tray and going up to different people instead of standing behind their booth. Wow. Then they realized that, oh, this is a strategy I could use, and all of this learning that they are having, and it is only when they, step in to get started, not be afraid to fail, that they realize that, oh, there are all of these learnings, things that you learn along the way, and how you can do better, right?
Yeah,
there's
totally
a whole explanation about taking risk and being willing to fail. If you don't even come onto this fair, you would not have realized that the best strategy is to walk around to the entire fair with your little basket of things to sell, right? You would just be doing it in a certain way, and these are things that you don't know until you get onto the boat.
Yeah, I remember the fair. I was there with my kids. I had quite a good haul. One of the hauls I got was Paradise Tree Snake Mold Skin as a bookmark. And that is one of my treasured hauls. So I psyched my kid to get that one. And also I remember there's a 4-year-old who started doing a pedicure or painting nails for other children, and she's a natural at it. I'm like super impressed by her, her steadiness. And then yeah, we should let really kids try these things out. And then we used to think like I think we hold ourselves back because like starting a business is so scary. Failure is so imminent. So, we know that maybe 80 to 90% of businesses fail, but kids, being kids, they are curious, they are brave, they want to try things out. And then we as parents, we need to remind ourselves not to hold them back and then let them experience it. And then who knows, it might spark their interest in entrepreneurship. Yeah. Yeah.
So if there was one takeaway that our audience can get out of this, would you say that it would be just holding your words back and holding your actions back and just really letting the situation unfold and unfold organically and to play out such that because sometimes it's our own limitations, right? Our own expectations.
We project on them, yes.
Yeah, we project on them, and then we realize that actually, they can do much better than we think they can,
Yes,
it's just really really holding back ourselves so that we can actually let them do their thing,
Holding back from being a helicopter parent, holding back our words and holding back our actions, and then sometimes just have the extra patience of maybe 5 minutes and then look at how they go through the process of failure, how they pick themselves up, and then how they proceed on and learn from the process rather than prescribing what they should learn. I think that is what one thing parents can do.
Yeah. The other thing that stood out for me would be maybe lowering your own expectations. Like, for example, the parents who came in, if the parent were to come in to say that, oh, your packaging is not right, your this is it's too kiddie, it's not perfect, it's not a perfect line, and all of these adult type expectations, then before a child can actually grow or start a business, you've just basically snuff out the light, right? Snuff out that fire. So just lower our expectation and not hold that whole adult expectations on our kids. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be right. It just has to be, we just have to go. We just have to take the first foot out. We don't need to aim for perfection, isn't it?
Correct. And to add to that, it's just that sometimes we parents, once again, we project that, oh, this one is too kiddie looking, but the whole purpose of the adrenaline fair is selling it to other kids as well. And then
Exactly. We
we
forget
put our
that, right?
perspective, and then
Meeting the target audience.
yes, they probably know the target audience better than we do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's anything else you like to add to that?
No, I think it's an interesting experiment. I mean, I know that failure is a very big thing. It's even for us as adults, it's also it can be really, really hard. So what more for a young child, right?
Yes.
So we really just have to just embrace this, fear and just really let go. And kids, being kids, they have high risk tolerance,
Yes.
So they aren't actually afraid of failure. The failure is actually us as adults and parents who are holding them back, right?
Yes.
So
We
yeah, so
adults, like I think even the government, they prepare sandboxes so that it allows the people to fail with grace. But children, they are natural in their own sandboxes, and they don't need to have a fallback plan or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this conversation that I have with one of my guest speakers, the Kelvin So and family. So their family is also very entrepreneurial, and they did a few what's that called, those Kickstarter programs, and we interviewed the children, and then the children said, "What failure? These are all old folks things. I don't have any failure. I'm not afraid of failures." Then we're like, "Oh yeah, it's just all us." Yeah, that really struck me a lot. Yeah.
Okay, that's a nice
Okay.
wrap up. Okay, let's thank Sheryl, and then we'll get her to
Thank you,
hop on again on the
KY.
next episode. Thank you,
See
Sheryl.
you. Bye.
Bye. Okay.